Just give a second for folks to be in. Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Owen, and I'm the Associate Dean of Students here at Wofford College. It is my pleasure to coordinate new student orientation for the class of 2028, along with my wonderful colleagues. Over the years, we found it helpful to gather several times throughout the summer via this Terrier Talk series to walk through how to complete important summer tasks and answer questions for our new families prior to arriving on campus for the fall. Today's Terrier Talk topic covers what to know about registration, which is our final of 3 presentations related to academic advising and course registration for the summer. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. So we have Dr. Cynthia Curry, who's our Director of Academic Advising, Lillian Gonzalez, who's our Professor of Accounting, Dr. Boyce Lawton, the Dean of Student Success, and Dr. Stephanie Baker, Professor of Biology. I also want to note that you should feel free to post any questions in the Q&A feature of today's recording. After we finish today, we will also post this recording to the FYI tab of your my.wofford.edu portal by the end of the day tomorrow. If you need to go back and review that, feel free to. And there's also the past Terrier Talks that we've done over the last month posted there as well. Dr. Curry, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ashley, and good afternoon, and welcome everyone to this summer registration advising meeting for incoming students and their supporters. And we are just so happy that you've joined us today. As Ashley mentioned earlier, my name is Dr. Cynthia Curry, the Director of Academic Advising, Dr. Stephanie Baker, who is the Professor of Biology, Professor Lillian Gonzalez, Professor of Accounting, and Dr. Boyce Lawton, the Dean of Student Success, and we are your summer advising team. So some of you may have reached out to us previously, and we're doing our best to answer our emails. But at any time you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at advising@wofford.edu to answer any questions and provide information that you'll need before registration for fall classes, which will begin on July 23rd and also July 25th. And at this time, Professor Gonzalez will talk about topics that we will cover today.
Thank you, Dr. Curry. I'm so happy to be here with y'all. And Dr. Lawton, you've got all the slides going. Oh, gosh. Today, we will focus on making sure that students' class schedule plans are approved and that students are prepared to register on July 23rd and again on July 25th. An important note here, okay, is that until your plan is approved and the student's advising hold is released, students will not be able to register for fall classes. So we'll repeat this a couple of times, but it's very important to recognize that your advising hold must be released. Between now and then, it's essential that students check their wofford.edu email, respond to our emails, the advisor's emails, and communicate with us when questions or concerns arise. And of course, write to us at advising@wofford.edu. In our time together today, we'll review resources you'll need to prepare. These will include information on My Wofford, your wofford.edu email, and the fall interactive course schedule. Then we will walk through the summer registration timeline. So on the slide here, you see these resources, the FYI tab of My Wofford, the new student guide box, student tab of My Wofford, wofford.edu email account, the fall interactive course schedule. We'll have the summer registration timeline. We'll talk about the class schedule plan. We will hear more about the class schedule plan as we look ahead to our 2 rounds of registration. Registration will happen in 2 rounds on July 23rd, and the 25th. And then we'll talk at the end of today's presentation about what to do if various scenarios that are common. At the end of this meeting, we'll open the chat for other questions that you might have. Okay? All right, so let's continue. This next slide provides an answer to the question, where do I start? Where do we begin? If you're starting now, you've got time, but you need to move quickly this week to submit your plan for approval by July 15th. Remember that the FYI tab is your starting spot for information. The new student guide has drawers that take you to information on the new student information page when you click the plus signs. The July registration link takes you to the information you need, including today's topics: how to plan well, how to register after your plan has been approved. These resources include great videos that allow you to see the planning and registration processes. They're very helpful. Be sure to transition to your wofford.edu email address. It's linked in the left margin of each My Wofford tab, which is where you also see the FYI tab. Check that account every day and use it to communicate with advisors. As registration approaches, keeping track of dates and responsibilities is essential. This overview calendar focuses on the registration dates. A more detailed student calendar is in the student checklist of the FYI tab. You can also print that if you find that might be helpful for you or your family. Class schedule plans are due July 15. So if you haven't submitted a class schedule plan or need to revise your plan, please do so this week. Log in on Tuesday, the 23rd, for the first round of registration. You'll register for up to 5 credit hours. On Thursday, the 25th, log in again for the second round of registration. You'll add courses with the goal of reaching 13 to 16 credit hours total. The summer advisors will then check schedules for completeness and work with students. As we look ahead to the July 15 deadline, let's talk about completing your planning. Submit your plan. Remember that your plan is simply a first choice plan of courses you want to take. Okay, so it's just your plan. Be sure to include in that plan LIBA 101 and FYI 101. A third course is normally the language course, which is strongly recommended, though not required. You will want to make sure your plan is for 13 to 16 hours and that your courses are all first-year friendly courses. Use the information in the July registration link of the student guide box to submit your class schedule plan. The information is extensive in those links, including instructions, links to resources, and videos that Dr. Lawton has created to show how to create a plan and to check it for errors. If you have questions about the plan, error messages, for example, write to advising@wofford.edu. After you submit your plan, check your wofford.edu email for a note from one of us, Dr. Baker, me, Dr. Lawton, or Dr. Curry, to see if your plan needs an update or if your plan has been approved and your advising hold released. Now, this is a point where communication can often break down. Students submit the plan and then forget to check their email to see if they need to revise their plan. If their plan isn't approved on July 23rd, then they will still have an advising hold in place and will not be able to register. Keep checking your email and respond to our notes when you have questions. After the class schedule plan is submitted and approved, your advising hold will be released. But you're not finished. Having a plan approved does not give students priority for seats in a course. Everyone registers at the same time with equal access to seats. Classes will fill, and you can't count on registering for all of your first choice classes. You'll need to create an extended plan that includes additional options for your fall schedule. Even if completing that first choice plan took a lot of time, and even if it's the schedule you love, remember that you need to create lists of more options because classes will fill. To talk about fall courses, let me turn things over to Dr. Baker. Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Professor Gonzalez. So now we're going to talk about courses for fall. As Professor Gonzalez said earlier, when you register, you need to make sure to include LIBA 101 and FYI 101. All students need to register for these courses. And the Modern Languages, Literatures, and Cultures Department recommends strongly that students include their language since incoming students have priority registration for these courses. It's recommended, but not required. So let's look at these courses. So the LIBA 101 emphasizes development of 4 key capacities that are essential for students transitioning to college. What's important here is that each LIBA 101 course has only 16 seats. So you need to make sure that you look at the descriptions. You can find those at the FYI tab at My Wofford, and pick ones that topics that would appeal to you. A lot of times students will just look at the first 4 or 5 and everybody tries to pick those, but not everybody can have just the first 4 or 5. So make sure you look at all of those descriptions and pick a LIBA 101 that suits you. You need to make sure that you have several options for that LIBA 101 in case your first, second, or even third choice course fills, because they can fill quickly and registration goes very quickly. It's very busy. Then the FYI 101 establishes a foundation for transition to college, and the curriculum in each FYI 101 section is the same. So make sure that you get one of those. It will be the same across all sections. So which section you get there really depends on the time and day that will fit your schedule best. And we also want to emphasize creating backup plans. As Professor Gonzalez said, you spend a lot of time, and I know because I've been going back and forth in emails with students, that you're spending a lot of time, you're putting a lot of thought into that first choice plan. And we know that you love that plan, but we also want you to be prepared in case you don't get that first choice plan. Remember, it's a plan. It's not guaranteed. When you make that plan, that's not enrolling you in classes. You're just demonstrating to us that you know how to navigate the system, you know how to pick classes, you know how to create a plan where classes don't overlap, the ones that are appropriate for first-year students. But when it's time to register, courses are going to fill up quickly. So make sure that you have backup plans. And there are resources to help you. So at the new student information webpage, there's information about courses that are good courses for the first course in a major. So if you know you want to major in something specific, then you can go ahead and see what first course is recommended. But it's okay if you don't know what you want to major in. You can also look at the list of required general education electives and elective options. And to find these courses, you can look at the interactive schedule of fall courses. And that will show you what courses are offered, when they're offered, how many seats are available. And all of these resources are linked in the FYI New Student Guide in the July registration drawer. So you can check the links at your FYI tab, the new student information page, and remember there are videos to help you through these processes. Okay, so once you have your plan in place, remember that needs to be done by July 15th, then you'll be ready for registration. As Professor Gonzalez said, we review those, and once it's approved, your hold is removed and you are ready to register on July 23rd for the first round and July 25th for the second round. These both begin at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so if you're in a different time zone, make sure you adjust for that. When you log in, you want to log in a few minutes early, but not too early. If you log in too early, you might time out before registration actually starts, and then you have to go through the process again, and that might slow you down. So around 5 minutes to 11 would be a good time to log in on July 23rd, where you will register for up to 5 credit hours. That equates to one academic course, either a 3-credit course or a 4-credit course, and a 1-hour course if you want to add a 1-hour course. Some examples of 3-hour courses would be your LIBA 101, French 101, Math 140. Those are 3-credit courses. And then the 4-credit courses are typically your lab sciences. But there are some languages that are also 4-credit hours, like Chinese or Arabic. So round 1 allows you to try to register for the course that you want the most. So some examples. If you're a student athlete whose team has a preferred lab day and you're trying to get into a lab science, then you might want to register for your lab science on the first day to have the best shot at getting the lab on the day that you need. Or just majoring in science in general, you can go ahead and major for that lab science. Not all lab sciences require that you start in the first semester. Physics is one. If you're interested in physics, it is good to get into that in your first semester, and chemistry, but for biology and psychology, it's not imperative that you start in the first semester. Math courses are also popular, especially Math 140. And then if there's just a course you really want to take, so you looked at the LIBA 101 courses and you found, I just have to have LIBA 101 section M. I don't know what section M is. I'm not advocating that one, but it's just an example. Then you might want to get that one in the first round. So you need to prioritize what you want to do on that first day. Your chances of getting your preferred course at a specific meeting time is the stronger on July 23rd during the first round of registration. But again, it's not guaranteed, so make sure that you have backup plans. Remember, you have good video resources showing you how to do registration. And in just a minute, Dr. Lawton will walk us through that. And then for round 2, you're going to plan for courses to finish out your registration. So make sure you watch the registration video. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Lawton to step you through the process.
Okay, if all goes well, we're going to get out of the slideshow and go into real life. And if it blows up, then we're going to go back to the slideshow where we have things prepared. 2 things I want to point out. First, we mentioned the interactive course schedule. Hopefully you've seen that before when you're making your course schedule plan, but if you haven't done that yet, or if you have forgotten about it, when you're registering, I think this is very important when things go wrong. Normally, you are used to looking at the FYI tab in my.wofford.edu, but on registration day, you're going to want to move to the student tab of my.wofford.edu. And when you scroll down, you'll see registration, and right underneath registration, you'll see the interactive course schedule for fall of 2024. What I would do as I'm working through this, and especially on registration day, if I don't get the classes that I want to get, I'm going to first search for courses that have seats available. I'm going to look for first-year friendly courses only. I do not need to be in a government 400 level class in my first year at college, no matter who you are. Don't do that. And then I can start going through that way and seeing what's working. When I'm trying to say I only have times available on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, put that in the filter, and it'll filter out all the Tuesday, Thursday classes. So that's a great place to remember what's going on. This will update every few minutes, but you have to hit the refresh button to update it. So if you keep using this for 10 minutes during registration day, it's going to be long out of date if you don't hit refresh. You can always look at the data update time. So this was last refreshed at 4:14, which is 5 minutes ago. They should have it updating more frequently than that on registration day. All right, so back to the student tab. To go through and register, you're going to hit the registration button just like you did when you made your course schedule plan. Now, I've got a separate test instance over here we're going to use. It's going to pop open this screen before you hit plan ahead and you made your schedule. So I'm going to go back and just glance at that. I had to be in fall 2024 and I had made a schedule. And this is the same schedule that was in the video that you might have watched. I have Bio 150B and B Lab. And this is a really good time to remind everyone, if you take a lab science course in your first semester, then you have to have the lab and the lecture, and you have to register for both at the same time. You can only register for B Lab if you're taking section B lecture. So you cannot mix and match Bio 150A and Bio 150B Lab. It'll give you all kind of errors and you panic, but just know those go together, B and B Lab. Every one of you has to have LIBA 101. Every one of you has to have FYI 101. And just to put hopefully a smiling face to this word, if you don't, that means that my job is to go in and make sure I put you in a LIBA course and an FYI course after registration. That might mean I have to throw you out of some course you already registered for, and you don't want that. So make sure that you have those in there, because we will follow behind you and make sure that you have registered appropriately if you don't follow the mandates that we have to have there. So the registration plan, good to go. On registration day, so I've hit the registration button in my Wofford, which was right here. It pops me over here, and instead of planning ahead, I'm simply going to register for classes. If you click this now, it's probably going to say you don't have a time available to register. It's not your time yet. If fall 2024 isn't selected, go ahead and select it. Easy. This is where time and preparation makes a huge difference. If you are prepared and know what you're doing, you're very likely to get the courses that you want, or much more likely to get the courses you want. If you aren't prepared, a minute, 30 seconds can make all the difference in the world, especially on the second day of registration. You're much more likely to get your first choice classes on day one because we limit everyone to 5 hours, specifically so you can feel good about some of your courses. Many, many, many of you and all of your friends at every college across the entire world will not get the schedule that they want in their first semester or second semester or third semester or fourth semester of college, because the older you are, because you have fewer semesters left to get the classes you need to graduate, you have to give the more advanced students higher priority for registration. So again, it's not just Wofford, every college, everywhere. It's hard to get everything you want in your first semester. So you have to start practicing being resilient and having a backup plan to go there. Okay, so I've hit this tab, was in student, I hit register for classes. It's the first day to register. I know that I can register for up to 5 hours. I could go through and search for courses again, but precious seconds are passing. So instead, where it says find classes, enter CRNs, I'm going to click the word plans. I'd already saved my plan. The advising team has already approved it. I would know going into this what it is that I want for my 5 hours. I'm going to say I play football, and so I need this bio class because it meets the day that I can do it. So I'm going to go ahead and add Bio 150 B Lab. It will give me an error if I don't also add Bio 150 B, right? So I have to have those together. It will not let me do one without the other. You can see down here, I have 4 hours for the lecture and 0 hours for the lab, and that's how Wofford handles those courses. It's a 4-hour overall. That means I can take up to 1 more hour in this first day. So I'm going to go to FY 101C because that's my only 1-hour course, and I'm going to add it. It's all good. Down here it says pending. I have not registered yet. I'm going to make this bigger. You can see here everything is gray. That means I want to register for it, but I haven't registered yet. So I'm going to hit submit. And hopefully it won't take this many seconds. And everything turns to green. I'm registered. I can look down here and it says I've registered for 5 hours. That's the maximum. We've all been doing this, where most of us have been doing this a really, really, really long time. I've been here longer than any of you have been alive, but I've been doing this registration system also longer than any of you have been alive. We will probably have 20 emails or phone calls from students in a panic saying it won't let me register for more than 5 hours that first day of registration, the 23rd. You can't register for more than 5 hours that first day of registration. Everything else comes after that. You'll know you're registered because these change from gray to other colors, and you can see nothing overlaps. I'm all good. So I would be done for Tuesday's registration cycle by having 5 hours in. If things didn't work, and there's a good chance they won't work, what you need to do, you could see an error. The error might say no seats available. That means that everybody else wanted the same LIBA 101 section that you did. You chose a small school like Wofford because you want small classes. 16 people beat you there. No, we aren't going to give you an override so you can be the 17th person because we want you to be in a small class, right? So if it didn't work, all you need to do is drop web, hit submit, that drops it. And if I hit submit again, it takes it away completely. So when I get ready to register, I'm going to go ahead and put this back in. When I come back on the second day of registration, which is July the 25th at 11 Eastern time, and 11:02 is eons away from when everyone else registered, right? You want to be ready to go at 11 o'clock because it moves fast. Register for classes. I'm going to go back. I'm going to hit plans. I've already added most of the things on my plan, but I'm now going to add Spanish, stats, and LIBA 101. Submit. And I've got problems. I've got time conflicts. So that's when I would have to go in and say, what's wrong? So it's saying each of these things, they're conflicts. I could look at the times and I could see that these two classes meet at the same time. So my Spanish and my bio lab don't work. So I would have to remove my Spanish class and then start over from there. And so that's how you start going through the plans. When you're looking at what else can I put in, and this is where your anxiety level and just prepare, your anxiety level will go through the roof because it didn't work and everybody else is registering. You can find classes by search and looking in the schedule. I find that to be very hard to read. I would go back to the interactive schedule and say, help, I need another Spanish class. I need it to be Spanish 201. I need to make sure that there's seats available. And maybe I need it to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8:30. This is the course registration number I need, 9100. I'm going to pop right back here. Instead of going through all this lookup stuff, I would hit enter CRN's course registration number. I'd paste in 9100, add to summary, and hit submit. And if it was open, it would be open. Again, I'm in a test environment where things aren't lining up exactly. But that's how I would do it. So I would keep both of these tabs open and flip between the two. Remember, refresh the interactive course schedule every time, because now this is 424, and the difference between 11 and 1105, again, tons of things are no longer open. That's quicker to me. Copy the CRN, come here, and then enter the CRN where it says enter CRN versus clicking on your plan. So when you first go through, add things from your plan. After that, I would add things individually by CRN. Common errors are there aren't any seats left. And again, a lot of people lose a lot of time because they'll write us and say, why does it say there are no seats left? Because it's full. Move on. Go to your next plan. And get something, even if it's not perfect, get something that works for gen ed or other things towards your major, and then we can finesse if we need to after that. So that's a big one. Other things that we've seen a lot of issues with lately, a learning community course. So you're trying to register for a course, and I'm going to go real easy to FY 101. So FY 101, notice over here it says learning community, LC. That means that I have to have instructor permission. And I want to use this time to say, please look into learning communities. They're great things. We have FY 101A and LIBA 101A is well, it's the more people have applied now than can fit. All the others have tons of space. Lunar Dreams is one that has tons of space. Look at that one. There are all kind of benefits to being in a learning community, including registration benefits, which you can read about on the page. All you have to do is look and see Wofford Learning Communities. My children tell me Google everything, and it tells you exactly what's there. This is where you apply, and you click and see what's available. If you are taking Spanish 303, these are two phenomenal instructors. LIBA 101BB, Spanish 303A. I would encourage everybody who placed into Spanish 303 to take that course or take that learning community. This one's full. Lunar Dreams has lots of spaces. It's LIBA and FYI. Every single student has to take both of those courses. Technoculture still has a number of seats available. It's LIBA, which everybody has to take, and a studio art course, which would fulfill the fine arts requirement for anyone. So do that. But the point of all that was, if it says learning community or instructor permission, you can't take it if you haven't applied and been accepted. Other things that sometimes people have trouble with. If you decide that you want to take Spanish 101, but you were placed into Spanish 200 or 201, you can't do that. The system's going to block you from that. So if you're staying within the same language, in the first week of class, the instructors will work with you to see if you're placed appropriately. But you can't just register for a course in language where you haven't received permission to take that course. So that's another common error there. Okay, let me see what I'm forgetting. I think that's the best, or that's most everything I'm seeing. Dr. Baker said, have a backup plan. I can't stress that enough. Both of my children are, one of them's out of college, one of them is almost out of college. I was impressed. One of them had a list of 15 CRNs. His college used the same system we did. He needed linear algebra in his first semester. He had 15 classes that were going to work. He said, I don't care if I go to class at 8 o'clock at night. I just need this class. And he punched them in until he got one. And I thought, that's the way to handle the system. Know your options before you go in, and you'll be fine. We are here to help you. I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint real quick, if I can find it. There, okay. We are here to help you, but you can count, there are 4 of us. And what happens to us on the day of registration, we split the alphabet into different pieces. And depending on where the letters are, if you email us and your name falls into my group, I'm going to respond to you as quickly as possible. But know that there are 400 other students who are asking the same question. So be patient. This is a good time where you say, I'm at Wofford. I chose a small school where we treat you with a lot of care and respect. We're going to be able to help you. When everything blows up and you got nothing, which don't get nothing, but when everything blows up, my job the month of August before you arrive is to make sure that you get classes that will lead you to graduation in 4 years. I cannot get you into FY 101Z if it's already full, but I can make sure you get into a class. And so we will work with you. So please don't give up and panic. It will be a stressful day. Many of you will curse and scream and throw things and cry. That's okay. That's normal. We're here to help you after it's done. Okay, so I'm going to pass this back to, I think, Dr. Baker.
Yes. And so Dr. Lawton painted a very good picture of what happens on registration day. And so the take-home message from that is preparation and flexibility are the keys. Okay, so here's our best advice for how to get through these days, and that slide should say July 23rd and 25th.
Oops.
Is to watch the registration videos. Dr. Lawton put a lot of time and effort into preparing those videos for you. So watch those videos. Make sure you're comfortable with the technology and your list of course options. You also want to have your plan, which should be approved before you try to register so that your registration hold is released. And have your plan and your backups organized. So Dr. Lawton showed you how to go find it at the interactive schedule. You can do that ahead of time and have it written down on a piece of paper so that you can move quickly. Log into my Wofford between 10:50 and 10:55 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Don't log in too early because the system might log you out. So log in a little bit early, but not too early. Check your internet connection. Make sure that it's stable, that it's working well. And then remember, registration moves quickly, but you have to give the system time to process. So I'm not the best person to give this advice because when it doesn't work, immediately I just keep pushing the button. Well, if you keep pushing the button, you're going to lock the system up. Okay, so be patient, push the button, wait a second, let it do its thing, and then move forward. If you just keep putting in CRNs, things are going, like I said, it's going to lock up. But seats do fill rather quickly. Don't stop to call us or email us in the middle unless there's a complete catastrophe. If it's just, I didn't get this course, move on to the next course. If this one's filled, move on to the next one. Don't stop to say, hey, Dr. Baker, this is full. What do I do? Because I'm going to tell you, pick something else. We cannot secure seats for you. So calling us and saying, I didn't get into FYI 101Z, we're going to tell you, I'm sorry you didn't get in. We can't do anything about that. It's full. You need to pick a different one. We need you to, as Dr. Lawton said, be resilient, be prepared to be disappointed, but surprised if you're not. So if you go through and you get your first choice, you should be doing a happy dance because that does not happen very often. Keep registering, move to your backup courses if things are filled up. So your job is to create the most complete schedule possible with that 13 to 16 hours, FYI 101 and LIBA 101, and hopefully your modern language. If things don't go well and you don't get all of those boxes checked, as Dr. Lawton mentioned, his job in August is to make sure that you get all the boxes checked that you need to get checked. Write to us at advising@wofford.edu if you have questions, and make sure that you check your wofford.edu email each day, and we will write back to you and help you through registration. Okay, can we go to the next slide?
Gotcha.
Okay, so now we're to the what to do if something doesn't go right. So this slide shows us some questions that we've received in the past couple of weeks, and I'm going to have Professor Gonzalez start us off.
All right. So the first question on the slide here is, I can't register on one or both days. And in fact, I think we've gotten a few of you already have reached out about this. Everyone registers at the same time. So we don't let anyone register early per se. So our best advice is to have someone you trust, a trusted friend or family member, register for you. If you're going to be out of town or not able to get onto the internet or something like that. Ideally, you want to have someone who's worked in an online registration system before. But if that's not the case, if your friend or family member hasn't had that experience, then you need to give them access to the videos and give them so they can learn how our registration system works, and give them many backup schedule options. They're not going to have had the planning experience you've had, and they will need to be able to submit the CRNs with confidence they are working in your directions, like what it is that you want. So it will take more preparation. If you don't have anyone who can register for you, then write to us at advising.wofford@wofford.edu. It's not the best, it's not ideal in that we can perhaps have the registrar register for you, but we're going to be, as Dr. Lawton said, very busy that day. And Dr. Lawton and our registrar won't have time to register during the day. So they can help you with that, but it may be that many of the classes will fill in that time when they're busy with all the emails that we'll be getting. So that's not the best, the ideal solution, but let us know and we can try to help you in that way. Let's see. The next question on our slide is, my internet connection freezes, which is always my nightmare because that always happens at the worst possible time. As I think has been mentioned a couple of times already, many times the problem is you're timing out. You've logged in too early and you're timing out. So again, the trick is don't log in too soon. I like to hit refresh to make sure that my browser is staying active. But that way you're not going to time out exactly when registration is coming up. Check that internet connection, make sure that you're in a good spot. Sometimes students have gone to a Starbucks because it has better reception internet signal than they do at home. So make sure that you've got a strong connection. And if your page freezes, the best thing, even though it might break your heart, is to log out of My Wofford, the portal, and log back in and get back in and go again. And yeah, go ahead.
On that one, she said that absolutely correctly. Log out and log back in. Do not just hit the X box and close your window, because the system thinks you're still logged in and it gets mad when you try to log in again. So log out and log back in.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that legwork up front to make sure you're in a good spot, your computer's behaving, all of those things is going to be key to having a successful registration. All right. I turn over the next question to someone else.
Okay, so I think that's me. So the next question is, what if I don't register for a complete schedule or a course in my first choice schedule fields? Then you want to move on to your next choice and your next choice and your next choice until you have something that works. So have your backup courses already chosen. Use the CRN to enter them quickly. Again, we cannot add you to a class that's already filled. So work quickly to get the best schedule you can for that day. We'll be glad for you to email us after registration, but calling or emailing during the process is going to slow you down. Another thing that we haven't mentioned during all of this is that you will meet with your first year advisor. So right now we're your advisors. But when you get to campus, you will have a first year advisor, and there will be a chance for you to meet with that person and make some changes to your schedule if necessary then. But in the meantime, Dr. Lawton will be working behind the scenes to get you a full schedule. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Curry.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. And the last question that's on our list is, I didn't get into one of the required courses.
Oh.
So if you don't secure a seat in LEVA 101, FYI 101, or your language placement, as has been stated several times before, we are checking your schedules behind the scene when registration closes, and we're checking your schedules constantly. So we'll write to you to complete your schedule, but you want to keep checking your email, your Wofford email actually. So it may take us a few days for you to be contacted, but we will contact you. And also, again, the month of August, as Dr. Lawton stated, he's going to be checking schedules. And so if there's something, a course that you need, he will work with you to get that course. So our next slide talks about just advice we have for a successful registration. So we think the advice we've presented is essential. We want every student to be well informed and be able to act on their own success throughout their education. So, but we also want you to take the lead. Be the ones to write us from your wofford.edu email. Ask us questions to follow up, and then share the information with whomever, your parents or other support system. But we do need to hear from you. Control what you can as well as you can. Be ready to register at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on July 23rd and also July 25th. Have your information ready. Check your internet connection. Log in about 10 minutes early, 10 to 15 minutes early, ideally maybe 10 minutes early, and then just do your best. Please go ahead and plan to have your backup courses ready, to have a backup to your backup to your backup, and just please be patient while the system processes your CRNs, and just be flexible if the course fails. Because we understand at times things can be disappointing and frustrating if you don't get your first choice classes. So the best way to manage this is to be prepared by having alternative courses in place so you can move to the second and third choices quickly. In the end, you'll have a complete schedule that even if it's not completed on the 28th, you will have a complete schedule. So you may be wondering, what happens after registration closes? So again, we'll check the schedules, we'll write to you about any updates that are needed, and then when you move on campus that Saturday, which is the 25th, I believe, you'll meet with the general education advisor on the 26th, on the 24th, I'm sorry, Saturday, August the 24th, I believe. And then that Monday, the 26th, you'll meet with a general education advisor to review the schedule again. It's also important to note that our drop add period will open on Tuesday, the 27th at 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time if you choose to make a change to your schedule. But at any time during this process, you have any questions, please write to us at advising@wofford.edu. But just know we may not be able to respond immediately because it's going to be a very busy time. Students moving on campus. We may not be able to get to you immediately, but we will be there to answer your questions as soon as possible. But also in that process, continue to check your Wofford email every day. And also be sure to open and respond to emails from the college, especially from your advisors. We'll be glad to hear from you, and we're also available to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you to our summer advising team. I do see one question in the Q&A so far. And so it is, On the second day, if you need to move a class that you registered for on the first day of registration because you couldn't get into something on the second day, will it let you move that first day course that you registered for?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As long as space is available, you can move things around. Yes.
Yes. Do you want to mention, I do think I always tell my students to conditionally add and drop things. So
I
if
was
there's
just
an,
thinking
there's an option on there to conditionally drop something only if the space is still available in the new class.
And so what would happen? Are you still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So if I had put another class in, I can drop this one and then say I wanted to add this one. If I hit this box in the bottom right corner, conditional add drop, when I hit submit, it's only going to register, it's only going to drop me from biology, which I would actually have to drop both biologies because I have to take B and BL together. But it's only going to drop me from biology if it can find a space for me in LIBA 101Q, which is really good because as registration is flying very quickly, the second you dropped bio, if you hadn't checked this box, there was a seat open in LIBA 101Q 3 seconds ago. But between the time that the system dropped you for bio and you tried to add you for LIBA 101Q, LIBA filled up. And now your bio filled up because somebody took that seat before you could add it back. So that's why this is a really, really nice feature. If you're dropping and adding, click conditional add drop. It won't drop you unless it can successfully add you. Good call. I want to show one more thing real quickly. I think I can get here. Why is that saying leave site? That's fine. If you go to prepare for registration, we've seen this question. I've seen it a bunch of times today. Many of you now are seeing there's a hold which prevents you from registering. That's your advising hold. And so you can't register until we approve, or your advising hold is there until we approve your plan, and then your hold disappears. So I think a lot of people were missing that. That's natural. That's why we go through this process. And it will be that way for every registration. You have to see your advisor, then your advisor releases the advising hold, and then you can register. So if you're in the planning stage now and you see a big red box that says you have a hold, don't worry about it. It's normal.
So we have a student who asked about being abroad during the registration days and if there's a way to disable the dual authentication process while they're gone so that a parent can register in their place more effectively.
That's a great question. We deal with that every year. And so if you will write us at advising@wofford.edu, we'll get you in touch with IT. And they have a way to work around it. And I honestly don't know what that is. If we don't write you back within 36 hours on that question, write again, or maybe in your email to advising@wofford.edu, put abroad dual authentication, and then we'll work through that way.
I actually dealt with that this morning, Dr. Lawton.
Okay.
And one of the recommendations, if you're somewhere where you have internet access, you can use the Microsoft Authenticator app, and that will work. So if they email us, I have a little blurb that walks through students how to do that.
Awesome.
And that app comes in handy when you're on campus too. So I would recommend
Absolutely.
students go ahead and download that app.
Yes. So instead of getting a text message to authenticate, you just click the button and enter a number on your phone.
Yeah, or it does your Face ID. So super
Yeah,
easy.
or your face, yeah.
See if there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
One that we see fairly often, well, not fairly often, but students who are taking Physics 141, they have to also take Math 181 if they don't have prior credit. Physics is 4 hours, math is 3 hours. If you try to register for Physics 141 on the first day, you can't, because you can't register for physics unless you add in those extra 3 hours. So if you're in that physics calculus area, register for calculus the first day, register for physics the second day. Physics wants you in Physics 141. They'll find a way to make it happen.
Don't see any other questions popping up. Okay. I think we'll wrap up. So just want to thank you all for joining us today, and please know that we are beyond confident that you're going to be well prepared for your registration day. A couple of final reminders before we leave. Please be sure to be logging into my.wofford.edu regularly, and I highly recommend that you select that Check My Progress button that's on the FYI tab so that you can make sure that you're meeting all the necessary deadlines before you arrive on campus in the fall. And also be sure to mark your calendars for our final Terrier Talk, which is at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, August 15th. And that's where we'll discuss orientation, move-in, and the first year experience. So we hope you have a wonderful evening. And please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions via email at advising@wofford.edu or orientation@wofford.edu if it's something related to orientation or your first semester.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.